Those opposed? Motion carried. Item 5, administrative financials.
Yes, thank you. First of all, I'm very pleased to announce that we have hired someone to fill our GIS position. Robert Spencer, he joined us last week, or actually last Monday, as our new GIS person. Robert is primarily responsible for the maintenance and growth of the district's GIS database, and will be assisting in the development and enhancement of our well marking program as well. He previously worked for Texas Parks and Wildlife for over 15 years, with recently the last 6 in the Palo Duro Canyon area. Prior to that, he was in the Mineral Wells area at Mineral Wells State Park, and where at that time he did a lot of the GIS and geospatial modeling. We're excited to have him. It's been a while since he's done stuff, but we're getting him up to speed, and Michael plans later this week to take him to a few of the other districts that have a very robust GIS program going, so we can kind of see how they're doing it, and learn from some others before we recreate much. So, and I would introduce him today, but he had to step out this morning for something. Other things financial going on. I am working with the auditor on 2020's audit. We're behind this year compared to where we're supposed to be. Some of that is a little COVID. They've been stretched thin. And then I was trying to drag it till we got a new comptroller on board. That's going to happen. But in the meantime, I've had to step up and start digging and providing that. But they've been patient, and hopefully y'all are too, because I'd rather the bookkeeper or the accountant access the documents for them. And unless someone else has some specific questions, that's all I have under update on administrative and financial.
Item number 6.
Well, they're still being, yes.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Okay, so under B, review of the first quarter investment report, included in your packet is a copy of our first quarter investment for 2021. As shown, our securities pledged along with FDIC insurance, and we do have a letter of credit, are sufficient to cover the district's cash deposits and investments.
Okay. I'll move on to item number 6.
Yes.
Station service agreement.
We're going to keep it to Paul.
All right. Paul.
Okay, so just to recap, back in January, the committee that was myself, professional services for hydrogeology, groundwater management. We have RFQ. We met with James Beach, who's worked for us for quite some time. We met with Karen Wade Oliver, and Wade is part of this meeting today. He's available for questions or comments if they want to speak. But it is our recommendation, the committee's recommendation to authorize the general manager to execute agreement with the chair. Hydrogeology.
Okay. So move. Second. First made and second.
And I do believe White is available.
Yes, let's do an introduction with Brady's name and all.
Right. Two of our directors were unable to be here today, but if you'd like to please give a little brief introduction.
Kathy, was that to me?
Yes, sir. Did you hear us?
I did. So good morning, everybody. My name is Wade Oliver. I really appreciate the the recommendation, and looking forward to working with you. Hydrogeologist, I've been working with other DCDs across the state, and in addition with groundwater management areas, GMA 14, GMA 8, where you guys are, GMA 1 up in the and I've had the opportunity to talk with Kathy about some of the upcoming hydrogeological assistance that we could provide, and we're really looking forward to working with you all. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions away? Well, welcome aboard, sir. Thank you.
If someone asked a question, I'm getting a bit of an echo, so couldn't quite hear that.
Wayne, I think they're good with your introduction, so thank you again for being here.
Thank you, Kathy.
Okay, we'll move on to item 7, tax order authorization to discuss and consider authorizing general manager to tax order number 3 for Patent Associates Incorporated for database.
Okay, the task order provided in your packet is to allow for additional modifications to the district's new database that are necessary following the rule amendments that we did in November last year. When the database was initially spec'd, I had the historic permitted authorization at that time was based on both a maximum historic use per well as well as a maximum historic use per system. And that is how they moved forward in developing that database. We made changes to the rules that changed, how the database functioned, and it's not an easy fix. It's basically quite a bit of reprogramming because of the modification. Other changes included or suspected in this task are changes to modify some of how the billing is going to be going forward, since we're doing the quarterly, the annually, and we're having a surcharge on the monthly, so forth. So basically, everything we amended in the rules caused some change in that database. And there are a few things that just are administratively needed. One of the things staff has asked for is, can they do batch meetings where entity has multiple wells, they're able to just dump the batch in there without having to go to each well individually. So some of it's to make it, more user friendly for our public, but mostly this is needed internally. I did visit with HAP last week on a timeline because, we're already behind on this database, but some of it, again, was, I get tired of using COVID, but I think it's some COVID on their side. And then when we approached the rule amendment, I had them slow down because if y'all did adopt those, I knew changes were going to be needed. But when I talked to them last week, they said if this task order is approved, that they can get to work on it immediately and would like to, they think it'll be about a 3-week effort. And after that, they would like to set aside another 2 to 3 weeks of intense testing by staff here at the district to see what bugs we can identify. And then they will work on, pulling that. After the testing period, have to do a final import of all of our data from Aquavale into the system. And hopefully everything will be running in 45 to 60. If the task order is not approved, they can hand it off within 2 to 3 weeks, but it won't have some of the needed personnel to review. Unless someone has additional questions, it's my recommendation to the board to authorize this task order not to exceed $17,000. We do have monies in our budget under our net income for 2021 that could offset these costs until we put budget amendment.
Okay, a question. So the surcharge, that's One C, billing will be based on the following installments, annual, quarterly, semi-annual, monthly with 5% surcharge. Are they taking care of the surcharge for, credit card, debit card payments too?
Hopefully in the interface, how they kind of financial. I'm sure there might be a third party still. Else in that.
I understand. So,
Thank you. Motion made and seconded. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, motion carried.
Thank y'all.
Item number 8, road outreach.
Good morning, everyone. Just a few updates on some recent public relations and education outreach initiatives. So a few items that we had since the previous board meeting. We sent out an e-blast about the upcoming Texas Water Development Board's water loss and conservation workshops, and also the leak detection equipment that is available to public retail water systems for free in order to utilize the leak detection capabilities. So we sent that out on March 19th. We have had one workshop, I believe, is on April 8th, and there's one coming up again on Thursday this week. So just making that information a little more readily known and available to those non-exempt well owners. Also, coming up on the radar for June 18th, I've been working with Joel Big. He is the director of the Texas Well Owner Network, and we are going to be hosting a half-day well-educated workshop here at the office. So for anyone who's not familiar with this type of plan, it's a free half-day educational for residents who depend on household wells. And it's just a great resource for them to learn about their groundwater resources, as well as septic system maintenance of their well, as well as water conservation and water treatment and quality. So we're excited to have that opportunity. That will be coming up in June, on June 18th. We also added a page to the Prairie Lands website under education. Now you'll see that there's a text message page that has been added, and it features a map of our 4 counties in the district and the text Mesonet data that's available there. So we have 4 of these Texas Water Development Board weather stations now in the district. The most recent one was just added in Woodrose, and it should be online now, I believe. So we're excited to provide that data there to our public. So once again, just kind of creating this space on our website where our public can go and find these resources and provide it there all in one location. With some education events lately, the water education trailer is pretty much back in business this spring. We've got several schools that are excited to have in-person presentations. Students, I believe, are very just burnt out on virtual programs, but they have been great to have these in-person presentations with the trailer. So Cleveland Christian Academy hosted the trailer on April 8th. We had about 85 students come through, and that was for all grades there in the school. And then last Monday, I went to Hughes Middle School in Burleson, and we had 297 7th grade students come through during their science class that day. So it was a great event. We've previously never been to that school before, and they were great to work with. And I've included a list of some upcoming events I have this week and next week and then into May. So just to show you what we have coming up in the coming weeks as far as education events. And the last item I want to point out is I've included a report from our program coordinator with AM Conservation Group. This is the group that implements the WaterWise education curriculum that we've sponsored the previous few years. And I reached out to her and asked her to put this together because in the past it's kind of just been a report towards the end of the program. And so I want to be a little more just involved and so that we can stay a little more abreast of where we're at as far as implementing the curriculum. So she sent this to me and it kind of shows you the different schools that have enrolled in the WaterWise curriculum so far. And, just to give you an idea, we are at 428 students enrolled, and that is out of a total of a potential of 597 students. So we do have schools enrolled in Johnson, Ellis, and Hill counties. Know that they're working diligently with their outreach staff. So I'm hoping that we can get a Somerville County school enrolled as well. And I will stay on top of that and see where we're at there. But I did want to make sure I include this in my report today. And I'd be happy to answer any questions. Yes, sir.
Only 18 workshop is that official?
Yes, sir.
You reached out to me in the homeschool association.
I have, and I did this year. There's one here in, I can't think of the name right now, but right now, we had talked about trying to have the trailer out there or have it here, but as far as they said, they couldn't get together the resources to have a field trip to come out here. And they actually requested the video presentation of the trailer. So I did send that to them so they could show it to their students there. So, yes, sir.
And again, if any director knows of someone we can reach out and or they have a contact that we can borrow, Sinclair is always looking to increase that role. So please do not hesitate to share that with me or her.
Thank you very much. Okay. The 926 AM. We're this and discussion. One, those step one, the government code. So districts, legal council, today's agenda. An election will be taken during the closed session. At the conclusion of the session, we will reconvene the voting session and announce that
Okay, we will call this meeting back to order at 10:35. All right, and we will go to item number 9.
I move that the board authorize the GM to work with the district legal counsel and offer settlement agreements to the persons listed under item 9 on today's agenda. Consistent with our discussion with the legal counsel before the closed session.
A motion made and seconded by Kurt. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed? Motion carried. All right. Move on to item number 10, general manager's report.
Okay, I'll try to keep this brief after our long executive session. Staff and I have been working with Brian Sledge, our attorney, on a timeline on sending out proposed permits for historic use applications. We're working on goals on scheduling these permits for hearing. Essentially most are ready to be presented as proposed, but we're trying to make sure we have the sequence all worked out. Plus, we need to get report on dates to schedule those because it will be a pretty lengthy process. One of the things I wanted to mention, we did have modern contractors back out. They did some cleanup work following the construction. We seem to have a film residue that's adhered to the tile work, and they had special cleaners come out and work on that. Unfortunately, it removed a little bit of grout in some places. So they will be back. They're going to wait on the repairs for that towards the 1-year anniversary when they come in and do other little items that occur with any building once it's built, settling and so forth. We have some sheet rock that's kind of popping in some places and things like that. But one of the other things we kind of complained to both Allen and Modern is the overhead door in the shop. The weather stripping around it, when you open the door, it falls down, can't get it back up, and then the door bounces and won't stay shut properly. It messes up the sensors for the alarms. So I think Alan's tired of me calling, and once that happened, he's been pretty hard on Modern contractors to get them out here. They're supposed to be today, I believe, not tomorrow, to take care of that. So I told him I was going to report that to the board, which they never like to be the light shined on in that way, but it's time, I think. One of the other things I handed out to everyone this morning is appointment of committees for the district. We've been talking about this for about 3 months. I kind of held off getting this out, but have visited with Charles, and we've looked at restructuring our current committees. More or less, we're adding an executive committee or formalizing adding that, which would be officers of the board. Along with it, we have the Rules and Bylaws Committee, Budget Committee, the Policy and Personnel, as well as a new Planning and Development Committee. And I provided a description of each of these below. And what we would like everyone to do is to mark these in order of preference, but be sure and put your name somewhere on it and get it back to me. We want to make sure people get on the committees they feel like they're qualified for or have the strongest interest in, and that way we can revamp these committees as soon as possible. If anyone has questions, please reach out to Charles or I. I'll go ahead and email these out to everyone as well, since we have some directors not here. But any questions on this?
Right now, we have one vacancy. You know, to address that vacancy, or we can eliminate, if there is two vice presidents, it's hard. Is that going to be addressed in time?
Well, I visited again with President Bastida, and he is in agreement with you on that. That's something that probably needs to go back to the personnel and the bylaws committee, I should say. And that was a suggestion, is to maybe move up the second vice president to the first vice president and not have dual presidents. So we can also look at separating the secretary treasurer position or keep it as is and just have 3 officers. It's really the preference of this board. That'll be on the to-do list, and the bylaws does fall under the rules. So typically we do our board elections following our election appointment process in August, and so that'll be on the agenda, I guess, in August, September. I'd have to look back at the schedule. Tonight, what I wanted to highlight on this planning and development committee is it's more or less envisioned to work with the general manager as well as our consultants on identifying those projects that we have. Through our management plan, we set goals and objectives, and are we on task to meet those? And what we need to do budgetary wise to make sure we're able to meet those goals. So, for example, talking about a well monitoring program, we've got to have money if we're going to move forward in putting in any monitoring wells. And so those planning processes need to begin sooner than later. And there's other things identified in our management plan as well. But I think, we now have Intera on board, and this is going to work really good. Bring this committee up from the beginning, as well as work with them and sit down and have some really think tank discussions on the steps needed to go forward.
I'll do the committee. That point like on as well, so I can go there and get the part.
Exactly, and we have to make sure we stay under a quorum, because all of this does come back to the board as a whole. So I'm sure there's ways to work with it. For staff can work between both committees as needed. So again, if y'all would get me these back as soon as possible, I appreciate it. But to move on our general manager's report, a few things, looking at my little notes here, is so we talked already about the historic use permits. Well, drilling, we've seen an increase in drilling for the month of March compared to February. Again, most of these are non-exempt wells, with Johnson County reporting the greatest number of new wells. Field staff has been out in the field working still with our public. When the oil and gas wells that we had permitted under historic use rescinded their applications, we went out and put a lot of seals on these wells. And when I say seals, it's a wire tag that notifies the owner of that well should they put that, decide they need that well or try to put that well back into operation. They must reach out to the district to get either amend the well restoration for a specific non-exempt use, exempt use, or get a permit for a non-exempt use. So we have encountered a couple of wells already that somebody's popped the seal off and is using it, but we haven't isolated it exactly who is using it, if it's the property owner or somebody, getting water for some type of work off-site. When you ask questions, we're not getting a whole lot of answers, but we're still working on that. Again, everything's still pretty virtual, but it is opening up. One of the things I wanted to point out is TWCA Summer Conference that's coming up in June. They have decided to have this conference in person. The rooms are very limited and it's at Horseshoe Bay. If any directors are interested in going, you've got to let me know as soon as possible on the rooms. I do have a connection. I also want to, share with you that I am the incoming president for TWCA. So it would be nice to have a couple of directors there. That is the meeting that they induct me as the president. So, let me know. I'd love to have y'all there. I think Charles, if I got you a room, I know you're going. So it is the June 9th through 11th. Also, something to keep on your radar is the Texas Groundwater Summit. That's always been an awesome conference, and I would recommend any director to go to it. It's a lot of groundwater information within groundwater conservation districts. It is scheduled for August the 31st through September the 2nd, and it's at the Hyatt Regent Hill Country Hotel in San Antonio. Again, let me know if you're wanting to go so I can get rooms booked. Because I want to make sure you stay at the host hotel. Things are booking up. I think families are trying to get out now, so these nice resort hotels are, they're holding our rooms only for short periods of time. With that, I don't know that I have anything else to add that's not already in your packet, but we'd be glad to answer any other questions. That's all.
So we're on to item number 11, general counsel's report.
Mr. President, I don't have anything further that we didn't discuss in executive session.
We'll move on to item number 12. Open forum, discussion of new business, future meeting agendas. Somebody got anything? Not, but okay. Item number 13. I have a motion made and seconded, we adjourn this meeting, Fairlands Conservation District at 10:48 a.m. Thank you.